Thursday, so we get to catch up with the Clinton schools, and it is a pleasure to have Andy Prinsen in the studio with us today. He is the principal at the Clinton Middle School. And Andy, you were telling me you've been there 6 years. I can't hardly believe that.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Because you were at the high school, and of course I used to see you at the basketball and football games
right.
and that. So
Yeah.
how's it going for you?
It's going well, but to your point, very fast, My first year there at the middle school was coming out of the first spring of COVID and going into that first school year of figuring out the pandemic and everything. So parts of that seem like yesterday and parts of that seem like forever ago.
First time we've had you on the radio, so we'll get a little bit of a background.
You bet.
tell me you're a West Delaware grad.
Yep. Born and raised in Manchester, Iowa, and went to West Delaware. Great community. Had a lot of fun there. Participated in a lot of things, and at that time, that school was my grade level, for instance, was just a couple dozen smaller than the grade levels we're leading here in Clinton. So I feel like I have a pretty similar experience in some ways, but also when we've moved to Clinton, we love the size of this community, and it's been, for me, a big town compared to growing up in Manchester with 5,000 or 6,000. So
Manchester is a great community.
yeah, it's wonderful.
So now you went on to Wartburg, another great institute.
Yeah, just coming out of college and had a lot of different visits and things like that at the school, but also then going to them, and I had an interest in coaching. I was probably 75 to 100 pounds too light to continue playing O-line like I did for West Delaware, so I was invited to do student coaching at Wartburg, and that kind of lined up nicely with my education major, and I knew I wanted to be a teacher and coach football, and that was the start of my career. Learned a lot of great things there.
So why education? I mean, was this a decision you made when you were in middle school, or?
I would say more high school. I love social studies, so I taught history, multiple eras of history and government. My mom was a teacher, so I was around school all the way through. A lot of our kids have that same experience of going to their parents' classroom after school. That was my upbringing. And just kind of the combination of, if you love history and like getting into that stuff, then teaching feels like a natural avenue to explore, and that's where I went in college.
So you told me you were down at Muscatine for a while.
Yep. Came out of school. My wife got a job before me. We weren't married then yet, but in the Quad Cities, and so that honed in a few different interview opportunities in this region. I don't think I'd ever been that far south in Iowa. I think we flew out of the Quad Cities, so one time or whatever. And so driving down to Muscatine was a first for me, and had a great opportunity there at Muscatine High School to teach history and government and to coach football. And after a couple of years, got into coaching wrestling too. And those 8 years went fast too, but I was really blessed there.
You got into administration. Talk about that transition. What enticed you to do something like that?
Right. I think, and maybe it's a social studies teacher thing, we like organizing and all of that and do a lot of leadership study. And so it's something that I think piqued my interest. But early on in Muscatine, I had the chance to jump into grad school, and I knew I wanted to do that. And it's kind of what master's do you go for? And I wanted to get into ed leadership. And at the time we were living in Davenport, and I was driving down, and St. Ambrose right there, 3 blocks from where we were renting a house. I'm like, I'd be foolish to not use this time and opportunity to do this. And I look back, and I'm happy that I had the chance to learn in person. A lot of grad stuff is online now. I really enjoyed the in-person conversations. And after a couple of years of that, was able to take that back to what was new at the time. The teacher leadership grant in Iowa was a new idea. And so things like instructional coaches were new, and I had the chance to do that for 2 years in Muscatine. So that was leading my professional development opportunities before getting into administration. So
again, on FYI, we're visiting with Andy Prinsen. He is now the principal at Clinton Middle School, has been for 6 years. Prior to that, again, you were at Clinton High School. How did that prepare you for having your own school?
Sure. Well, like I said, grad school at St. Ambrose, and there I met Mr. Kutch, and we were in the cohort together. Also, Mr. Schaefer at Comanche in that same cohort, so some good connections in the area. And when the opportunity at the high school opened, I reached out to JR, or we talked or whatever, and that opportunity evolved, and I was really lucky to come up and join a great team. And just there's a lot of stuff that goes on in a full comprehensive high school, and the duties of evenings and trying to lead multiple teams of teachers that have ownership of their own programs too, developing new teachers, working with students. Mr. Kutch was always really good at pushing us to get really closely connected with specific kids who needed us. There's plenty of kids who are going to work our way through a school system, and they're going to be okay. They got great families, and but there's kids that need us, and that's why we're there, is for those kids. So he pushed me through that all, and got to kind of watch him model how to do all those things at once, and I think got me as best prepared as you can be to jump in and take a try at a head position. So.
He is now at the elementary level here in Clinton. I think that's a great fit for JR.
He's a wonderful guy.
Yeah.
No one I have ever met is more genuine about their connection with kids.
You've got some great talking points. Let's jump into the first one. Celebrations. What you guys all celebrating?
Yeah. It's been a great year. We've had many great years. So one thing that has been close to my heart teaching-wise is project-based learning, and so it's something I continue to develop in our staff. We've got a lot of things we're trying to juggle at once, and so it sometimes that's at the forefront and sometimes it's not. But I want our kids to have authentic, engaging learning opportunities. And when I say engaging, I often mean community connected too. So we've had some of those already this fall that have been going on a couple years. One that comes to mind immediately is our 7th grade science classes, collaborating with Trees Forever, and Greg Obrin helping us lead that. And we've planted 30 trees in the last 3 years on our campus, which is beautiful, but didn't have a lot of trees on it because of the construction back in the day. And another one that jumps out is our 8th grade that has a chance to read a novel together in social studies and language arts, and they kind of break the reading up, but diving into history with the experience of a slave during the Revolutionary period. So, but those are cross-curricular projects where those classes have a real meaning because we're not just working our way through history or just through language arts. We get to do something real together on that. Those are celebrations for me.
Project-based learning is what you're talking about right now. Who comes up with what the projects are going to be? Do the students get involved with that?
Right. There's definitely space for student choice in it, but it takes a lot for teachers to kind of orchestrate where we can be loose on those things. For years, our curriculum's been based on Iowa Core, and those are standards, and our teachers know those standards and have packaged them and moved them around by grade level. There's things that we're changing with that. Our district's in the process of adopting a couple more directed curriculum for language arts and math. So sometimes the teachers don't have a ton of flexibility either, but wherever we do, we're trying to build in passion areas for teachers, because if they're passionate and interested in something, their kids follow that, especially in middle school. But then it's also where we have a chance to infuse our Portrait of a Graduate things. So that's been around for a couple of years, but we've got to design experiences where kids not only need to work together, but where we teach them how to collaborate or teach them how to manage accountability through like their workflow, stuff that we need to do in the professional world. So.
Before we get to the weather, let's jump into this next one, because you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier in the interview. Capturing kids' hearts. Talk about that.
Yep. Like most schools, like all schools, we all know that our relationships and our connections with kids is the first and foremost, step to being able to teach them. We've got to be connected to them and care about them. That program just helps us to have a standard way of learning that together, staff some common vocabulary. We have a couple major pieces like greeting kids at the door, greeting kids at their classroom door, but also having a social contract process in the classroom. So like the rules of engagement in this room are collectively agreed on, and kids know this is our room. You're not just here working for Mr. Prinsen or whoever. But it also helps us, how do we address misbehaviors and mistakes in a constructive way, so that we're learning. We're dealing with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. Yeah. We've all been there, and there's a lot to learn at that age. So that program just helps us to stay on track and check ourselves too. Like there's stressful times, there's challenging situations, and am I keeping the student first and foremost?
And before we do break for the weather, again, you were at the high school and now at the middle school. What is the difference vibe between the two student bases?
Sure. Coming from the high school, I thought I was going into a foreign environment, and honestly, after a little bit, it doesn't take long to get very used to it. But that was something I didn't know. Like, am I cut out to work with kids at this age, and am I going to be what they need? And I'm happy to say that I feel myself connecting pretty darn well with kids this age. Some teachers described it to me then, and I agree. The big difference is they're awake, they're excited, they have energy. You've got to harness it. As they get older, and we all know in high school, now you're trying to like encourage that energy and get them up and moving. But they come in moving in middle school, so it's going to get that point in the right direction.
A check of the weather now being brought to you by Awesome Car Wash.
A much colder but brighter Thursday is expected. We'll have mostly sunny skies, single-digit wind chills this morning, with temperatures only rising into the upper 20s this afternoon. By this evening, we'll see a quick hitting round of light snow, a dusting of accumulation possible there. Then skies go partly cloudy. We'll be in the mid-20s. With your Storm Track 8 weather impact forecast, I'm meteorologist James Rustutsky.
We have sunshine, light west winds, temperature all the way up to 14 degrees now. Our update brought to you by Awesome Car Wash.
Awesome Car Wash in Clinton has everything to meet your car wash needs. They have 6 self-serve wash bays to minimize wait times, a touchless automatic open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and a tunnel wash open daily from 7:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. Awesome Car Wash is located across from Purina on Manufacturing Drive in Clinton. Stop in, check them out, and see why customers are saying,
"It's awesome, baby!"
Well, on FYI, we're visiting with Andy Prinsen. He is the middle school principal. Let's talk a little bit about, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Edmonton. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yep. Program called Adminum. Our kids are well aware of it. High schoolers too. We've had it in place for pretty much my whole time at the middle school.
That's the first time I've heard the term.
Really?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's never been brought up before on this program.
It's good. So,
yes.
It's just a small part of our day. So our main focus is still the 4 cores and our exploratory opportunities kids have. But it's a program that lets us assess kids, but also then it has lessons built in where that's directly where they're at. So let's just say I'm a little bit struggling with some concepts in language arts, maybe something I didn't pick up great the year before. This lets us check for that, but also then it gives me lessons that are right on that track. I can fill that up, fill that gap, and be back on track. We've seen a lot of success with that for most. And then some kids need more help than just another computer lesson. And so it helps us know exactly what skill maybe these half a dozen kids need to work on for a few days in some special set aside time without overtaking our learning day. Mm-hmm. So we put a lot of stake in that. They gain trophies. It's like anything where you're achieving levels, so kids appreciate that kind of gamified version of it. But we just do little challenges and rewards and help them keep building those skills.
Earlier you mentioned that you enjoyed social studies, mm-hmm. and it seems like, students have different things that they enjoy, mm-hmm. but they have to learn all of that.
Right.
So how do you get them excited in the things that they're not that excited about?
Right. For sure. Well, I mean, that's one of the many tasks that a teacher takes on, For me, leading that instruction, that's where I go back to project-based learning. And maybe the label, I'll say social studies, so I'm not offending any other subjects, isn't exciting to a student. But when you show them how that social studies class impacts and can be intertwined with what they're learning in language arts, or why those social challenges in certain parts of the world or here might connect with solutions we can play with and practice in our STEAM engineering class. And it's seeing those connections, and that makes all those classes far more valuable when you see that our world is an interconnected world. Most of us aren't in a line of work. We say, well, I just do science. We do what we do. It's a very interconnected economy and community. So,
do you get the opportunity to visit the various classrooms, walk around, and see what's all going on in your building, or are you pretty much stuck in your office during the day?
Depends on the day, but that's ever a challenge for administrators. I would love to be in classes as often as possible. I make sure to make some laps and get into rooms, and it's something that we do, and Mr. Golden challenges us to do at the district level too, is to bring data from the classrooms you've been in the last month. But also part of my job and part of my team's job in the office is making sure that everything is arranged, addressed, parents are met with, students, so that teachers are best set up in their classrooms. And so sometimes that work requires you to be in the office, making sure that they're well supported in their classroom. So it's a balance.
Talk a little bit about your team. I mean, who's all with you there
Yeah.
in the front office?
Yeah, we've got an incredible group. So I've got 2 associate principals, Mindy Dunlap and Tyler Kruger. They've been there with me since I got there, and they were both there in different capacities before then, so prior to me. And then we've got 3 secretaries that help us, Miss Jenny, Miss Natalie, Miss Elizabeth. The people will often joke, but it's real. Like, if they weren't there, the place shuts down, right? They and many others, our custodian team, all of that, keep the building running. And then I love our office because it's a really integrated space. Our counseling team is in the same office suite, I guess, as our administration and secretaries. And so we have 3 counselors, 1 for each grade. That lets us, we talked about relationships. Our secretaries are the first to see most kids every day. Administrators are helping support those kids through 3 years of middle school. And then each of them has a counselor that follows them through those 3 years. So we really circled up around our students in that way.
You know, you've been there for 6 years, and you have seen 3 classes come all the way through 6th to 8th grade. And I would imagine you have seen the maturity and the development of these young men and young women.
Right.
You got to take a little pride in on how what you have done for them in their
Right.
future.
Right, for sure. I mean, that's what we're all there for. I took my son to the high school basketball game the other night for some youth participation in that. You were announcing.
Yes.
And, the kids out there draining threes and putting together a game to hold off Assumption and get a victory are kids that were all in our hallways just a couple of years ago. And that's pretty wild, that day is coming, but then you see it and you're like, it's pretty cool. So you feel like they grow up so much from 6th to 8th grade. And you're like, we're not even getting started, because then those 8th graders go off to high school and you're like, wow, like they are full-on adults by the time they're done. So,
When I went to school here in Clinton, there were 3 junior high schools. So it was 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. There was no middle school at the time. So, then we would get thrown together at Clinton High School. Now there's just the one middle school, but they do come from various elementary schools. So what is that for those 6th graders like? All of a sudden they got new friends, new people.
Yeah. Obviously, it's an important experience and a stage for them in their learning journey. Our 6th grade staff, teachers, and the counselors are especially aware of that. They do a really good job of making that transition as smooth as possible. I think some of the rest of us maybe are like, they'll figure it out, and they do. Kids are incredibly resilient. That's probably a more stressful moment from 5th to 6th for parents than it is for kids. But we know there's kids that struggle with some of that too. I always laughed it off, but then you watch year after year, inevitably, having to do a locker combo is like the biggest thing in the world. You're like, really? It really is. But we do a good job through the spring. Our elementary principals are great bringing us in too. So myself and whoever will be the 6th grade counselor go and meet all these kids in 5th grade in the spring. Then we get them in our building. Then we do a camp in August for a day, just to really make it a familiar place. And one of the things that's great about Clinton is I love our community size. Many of our kids have an older sibling or a cousin or whoever. They've been in our building to a game. We are not a faraway place to most. So.
Yeah, that's a great point. You were a 4-sport athlete, and let's talk a little bit about activities. And
You bet.
we got winter sports going on right now, and you split the season, which I think is great.
Yeah, well, I know we had some notes here, and Mr. Golden referred back to an era when that wasn't a thing. But,
yes.
I
You
don't
either played basketball or wrestled.
Right. I don't recall that. And even my time in the early 2000s in middle school, it was already, so I don't know when that happened. But that is a great thing about middle school is we've got early fall, late fall, and then a winter and a spring season. And so kids, if it's for sports, have a lot of opportunities to do many things. I know we have a great wrestling program, and those same kids are playing basketball now after Christmas if they're boys, and the girls played basketball before, and many of them are wrestling now. So those are choices that come later. Right now, we want them to have as many experiences as possible. Similar options in the spring, and I hate to just talk about sports too. We got an incredible fine arts program and some great clubs. So our biggest teams, so to speak, in our building are probably our bands. We've got a great music department that keeps pushing for growth, but also really high quality, and going to honor bands and getting participating in the high school marching program and all those things.
So does the band, when there's like sport activities, do they get to play music or anything like that during the games?
Many of them are in it.
Oh, yeah,
you
that's
know,
true.
very
Yeah.
intertwined. Small stuff that's been a nice spot. And I'd credit our band directors. You know, making sure that we have a group that hits most of our home games for the national anthem and plays it instead of doing a radio, you know, on the
Yeah.
hit and play on a recorder. So having kids do that, you know, we have a big cheer club. It's huge, and that's something that 6th through 8th kids can do, whereas sports are 7th and 8th. They're cheering at almost every single home event, including plans for cheering at track. I mean, just kind of like, let's keep them active all year. We have a color guard that's really big that does marching band things, but also performs at our home events. So all the peripheral things that help make an event like that feel special I'm pretty proud when you walk in our gym to a home middle school event. And I think I see it on the faces and I hear comments, whoa, from other kids, because we make a big deal. It doesn't feel like you're walking in and there happens to be a basketball game with a dozen parents. It's full and it's exciting.
You know, I would imagine, you know, listening to what you were saying right there, that the students are taking a little bit of an ownership of Clinton Middle School.
Mm-hmm.
It's their school.
Absolutely. You go back to that transition time, and just in a day gone by, and it doesn't matter, just a different time, you had that identity as a different junior high or a different middle school. Right. And that's well on our way now. And you know, I can remember my first couple years of the high school kids. I was at Lions or I was at Washington, and,
Yes.
and it's just gone.
Yeah.
And that's fine. There's an era. But now that unity comes very much earlier in our school district. So,
And I like that they're kings and queens. I went to Lions Junior High School. We were the Wildcats.
Sure.
Then we became a king.
Right.
But now they are the kings.
Yeah, it makes it easier to shop. You can focus on red and black from the beginning to the end now. So
That is true.
Definitely. No, I mean we want a good unified culture. Everyone's there supporting each other, and it's exciting to be part of that.
Well, you've done a great job today. It's a pleasure to have you in studio. Before we let you go, any closing comments that you would like to make, Andy?
I just appreciate all the opportunities, and I think anything that we're achieving at the middle school is not because of me. It's because of the great people that are there and the parents that allow us to serve our kids and partner with us. Just happy to have the opportunity to serve everyone else. So
Seems like you enjoy what you do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.